The Fitch downgrade is very much in the news tonight. That's what we begin with. Former Finance Minister Seth Terkper is charging government to address challenges in sectors of the economy that are driving the country's high debt. Ghana's credit rating has been downgraded from B to B- by ratings agency Fitch, a situation that could affect the country's ability to borrow whilst interest costs rise. Here's Mr. Terkper speaking earlier on the marketplace.
Presumption that we are going to have a positive bailout, which means that there will be a positive outflow, government will be paying. No. If you see it as a negative flow, which I'm not optimistic to be positive, then the deficit is 43 billion. It's not 87 billion. And therefore, your 7 billion e-levy, again, with even every optimism, is a drop in the ocean, especially when you need to finance. Okay. Let's say 40 billion. That's what we are facing because your arrears are low. So yes, we need to look, what do? We have done it in the past. You need to look at all the lines. You look at the sectors that are giving you problems, energy, financial sector, and the rest. And that is why every program we have had, has had, a fiscal element, a monetary element. Bank of Ghana has a role to play in terms of interest rates and the rest. As Doc said, that's going to be impacted, crowding and others.
Sure.
And then you look at the real sector, the ones that give you revenue, the ones that are giving you problems, and you have it. We have done these things in the past. But I think that, let me end by saying that, look, the World Bank, the IMF, Fitch, Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and as of 3 days ago or a week ago, Reuters, they can't all be wrong.
All right.
They are reflecting what the markets are telling us. And I think that we should listen.
Well, we can hear next from the Chief Finance Officer of the Valley View University, Dr. Williams Repra, who is urging government to take revenue mobilization seriously in order to raise enough money to take care of rising expenditure, including interest payments. This follows a downgrade of Ghana's credit rating from B to B- with a negative outlook for the economy by the ratings agency Fitch. Now, Dr. Repra tells Joy Business the implication of a downgrade on the economy could be dire as government must move quickly to address the revenue shortfalls.
We need to find a way to get some inflows coming into the country. If government decide to borrow within the country, what is going to happen is we all know the crowding out effect. For capital market, it's not only the fundamentals they look at, they also look at the technical analysis. So two main issues have happened in the country on technical analysis, which gives a very not bright future for the country. One is the fight on the e-levy. So if you are an investor and you are doing your analysis on the technical side, it gives a signal that revenue is going to be a challenge.
All right.
Government, in all its projections, they have not mentioned that they are going to do anything about expenditure, which I support what the former minister is saying, that we should look at our expenditure.
Okay.
The capex that we have mentioned to do them in the year, would we have the money to do it? This Bankers Fund, how much have we put in that one? So these are the issues that we face as a country. And investors on the capital market that I've mentioned, the technical analysis, they do it more than the fundamental analysis.
Sure.
So if the finance minister is saying that our fundamentals are good, what is driving the issue on Fitch is on the technical side.
Meantime, there is some good news. Government met its domestic tax revenue target of about 57 billion cedis for last year. Now, that's according to Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Charles Edubuahin. Speaking at the investiture of the newly elected president of the Association of Ghana Industries, Humphrey Enim Dake, Mr. Edubuahin re-emphasized government's commitment to significantly increase revenue mobilization this year to address the high debt level, saying government will be returning to Parliament before the end of this month with the electronic transaction levy for approval. There's more in this report.
The Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Charles Edubuahin, reiterated that the economy was recovering from the devastating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and therefore there are encouraging signs going forward. Despite the challenges within the fiscal economy, he said revenue has so far been promising but requires tougher measures to enhance mobilization.
With a target GDP fiscal deficit for the year was 9.4%, we're still ready to compile the December numbers. But I must say that the good news is on the revenue side, we met our domestic tax revenue target for the first time and exceeded it in 2022, which is very encouraging, especially given the abysmal performance, in 2021, especially given the abysmal performance in 2020.
Mr. Edubuahene outlined some revenue measures in the 2022 budget that implementation will begin from the end of this month.
However, going forward, the exigencies of our current situation, high youth unemployment, limited fiscal space, and a global pandemic which has induced high debt levels, demand that we prioritize moving our tax to GDP ratio from an estimated 13.4% in 2021 to 20% in the immediate to near term, which will be more in line with our peers and averages, global averages.
Trade and Industry Minister John Alan Tremantin reiterated government's commitment to make Ghana the new manufacturing hub of Africa. He challenged Ghanaian businesses to take full advantage of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area to significantly grow their businesses.
You are already aware that the government has launched what arguably is the most comprehensive program for industrialization in Ghana since independence. Our 10-point industrial transformation agenda. And I hope that together, government and private sector led by AGI would vigorously implement the components of this industrial transformation agenda. But there are two other things that have occurred in recent times which reinforce our resolve and commitment to industrialization. First is the establishment of the African Continental Free Trade Area. As you are all aware, this initiative makes Ghana the new commercial capital for our continent, Africa. And it is opening up the entire market of our continent to our manufacturers and our industrialists in Ghana. And I want you to take this very seriously.
Meanwhile, the Association of Ghana Industries wants government to remain resolute in reviewing the benchmark discount policy to save jobs and position Ghana as an industrialized nation. According to the AGI, the policy on some selected items is contrary to government's industrialization agenda under the One District, One Factory initiative. Humphrey Enim-Dake is the new president of AGI.
With over 100 factories established under the 1D, 1F, it was a milestone that brought us excitement and high levels of expectation for the promoters, the district, and the entire economy. However, subsequent development with the benchmark discount policy and its repercussions gave room for major concern for current, future promoters and investors in industry in the manufacturing space. We were therefore keen on government's indication to reverse it in the 2022 budget statement. With this current indefinite suspension, amidst further and broader consultation, we of AGI urge government to remain resolute in its decision to review the benchmark value, discount value. We of AGI, Honorable Minister, we are hopeful and optimistic that the government will do the needful on the subject matter of the benchmark discount value. We have hope in you, we have faith in you, that you take the course and you be resolute to save Ghana and make a decision for jobs into the generations to come.
AGI was established in 1957 Today, it has over 1,200 members across all the regions of Ghana and is recognized as the leading voice of the private sector.
All right, so more on the GRA meeting its revenue target for 2021. The Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Reverend Dr. Amishadai Owusu-Amoah, has been explaining to Joy Business what accounted for this record growth in tax collections despite it being a pandemic year.
Yeah, I think we realized where we stood and the challenges that are around. And if I would just chip in, normally, if you have read Who Moved My Cheese, when your cheese is moved, you try to find out where can you get other cheese. Those who have read that book. So basically what we're trying to do is to look at various avenues, and we put a number of strategies that will ensure that we will achieve the target. I mean, if you recall, some of them, number one, the Ghana card was one issue. Though I will not say that much money has come through the first year yet, but at least it created an awareness, and many people started trying to make sure that they can come in and file their taxes, especially when you made a lot of noise about the professionals. Number two, we talked about the waiver of interests and penalties. And that one, for example, by the time we ended the year, more than 2,100 taxpayers had applied for the waiver of interest and penalty, even at the domestic side only. And the total of about 2.2 billion of debts, out of which about 1.1 billion was paid before the end of December, and another interest of about 400 and penalties of about 600 were waived. So again, these debts that has existed for a couple of years, and people took advantage because we saw the pandemic situation, and then put in that policy to say that if you can come in and we give you a spread over 6 months to pay your tax, and you can pay the principal, we're ready to waive the interest and penalties. And many people took advantage of it.
How did the digitization also contribute? You have the online payment, so even though it was quite difficult to let these persons go into these companies, do the double checking, there was an online platform where businesses could still pay their taxes. How did that also contribute to the numbers that we saw for end of year 2021?
It contributed significantly because there are two key things that happened last year. One, in terms of being able to file online, and many people filed. And then two, being able to pay online. And for the first time in January, we were able to take off all payments out of our offices. And that created room in the offices such that people don't go there to queue. You just go there to transact your tax business. Number two, it removed the issue about dishonored checks and the issue about sometimes money flowing from the authority even to the bank accounts. So we didn't have any dishonored checks because people will only pay when they have the money and they just have to clear. Previously, we had got a lot of checks that come in and they don't get honored. So that was, and then for when people have convenience, you know, paying tax is not easy, as I always say. But if it's convenient for you to pay, then at least you take advantage as well. So one, it blocked some of the leakages, which was like an example of the leak. And then two, it made it convenient for people. So it also helped a lot. And then also digitalization on the port side. When we introduced the ICAMs, I think we introduced, as we saw in 2020, we saw the increases beginning in 2020. And it continued significantly all over the year. And that led to customs division doing over 27% year-on-year increase and going over 16 billion. So that aside, that aspect also helped a lot. So digitalization actually really helped. And Ghana.gov coming through, because again, now when we do, the collections are done by the banks within 48 hours. Automatically the money moves to the central bank. Previously, they have to do a manual transfer, and there were also issues about reconciling what have been transferred and what have not been transferred. That was for working with two banks. Today we work with 22 banks, and we don't have those reconciliation. And you can imagine if with two banks we had reconciliation challenges, if not because of automation, digitalization, we would have never. But when we talked about wanted to introduce all the banks to, the question people asked me, you are struggling with reconciliation with two banks. How will you manage 22 banks? and digitalization did it. So I think that is also a very significant part of it.
Let's look at, they're not getting into specific numbers or ratios, let's look at the various tax types as well, domestic, customs as well. Was it all rosy in all these tax types, or there were some challenges, some areas that has come up to your attention?
There were challenges in some areas that have come to our attention, and many areas did very well. PAYE, for example, improved significantly. I think that as we were coming out of the pandemic, when I say coming out, not that it has ended, but people found ways of managing it, and therefore more people were in employment. And again, some of our the work on PAYE in terms of making sure that more people pay the PAYE. So we saw PAYE increasing. We saw corporate income tax, and I'm looking at the domestic, corporate income tax also increasing. Some of the sectors, like the financial sector, did quite well. Some of the mining areas also did well. But some of the areas that we still saw we had challenges is with personal income tax, for example. We know personal income tax, the vehicle income tax are also treated as personal income tax. And with the suspension of the vehicle income tax in 2021 budget, it meant that those incomes, so that saw a shortfall from the previous year to the current year. So this year we need to find out ways of being able to bring in some more people into the personal income.
All right, and we will bring you the second part of that interview my colleague George Afe had with the Commissioner General of the GRA in our subsequent bulletins. You're watching Business Live. We're taking a short break. We will be right back. And welcome back to Business Live. Let's bring you some more stories. A former Chief Operations Officer for Enterprise Life Insurance, C.C. Bruce Jr., is calling on insurance companies in the country to remain disciplined if they are to penetrate the informal sector. According to him, it requires the right attitude. He spoke to Joy Business at the 20th anniversary celebration of Enterprise Life Insurance. Here's more.
The 20th anniversary celebrations was to commemorate the successes and achievements of the company over the past 2 decades whilst preparing it for the challenges of the future. Here is the former Chief Operations Officer for Enterprise Life Insurance, C.C. Bruce Jr.
When we started, there was not too much focus on life insurance. But I must say that the gains and achievements of Enterprise Life in the past 20 years have given some significance to life insurance. And most companies now have very solid life insurance operations. So currently the operational environment is very competitive, and life insurance is a product you cannot do without. Well, the informal sector has always been a very difficult nut to crack. And it's an area, I must say, in the past 10 years, we have made, as an industry, we have made real gains into that industry. It started with the regulator introducing specific regulations for the informal microinsurance, which lowered the bar for selling to that.
The company pledged to remain Ghana's foremost life insurance firm with an above-market performance. Here is Senior Manager in charge of Human Resource, Jifa Romana Mensah.
We started the journey last year where we celebrated our clients without whom we would not have been in business. We also celebrated our staff, and today is where we are having our Thanksgiving to thank God for how far He has brought us. The God factor is one of our key pillars, and we believe that giving thanks to God for how far He has brought us is prudent, which is why we are having our Thanksgiving today. Considering that we have just clocked 20 years, we believe that the years ahead will be much better, much bigger. We are the #1 life insurance company in Ghana, and we believe that we want to continue on that tandem and continue giving life insurance solutions to our clients and our partners.
Over the past 2 decades, the company has received several awards and honors in recognition of its commitment to deliver excellent services to all stakeholders.
All right, and that's Business Live tonight. Thanks for watching, everyone. Before we go, I want to show you what is trending on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Ghana does not face imminent external imbalances. Economic fundamentals strong, that's according to the finance minister. Also, worker unions fear more job losses as local companies halt production over benchmark values. And so those stories making headlines on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Do check them out. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for watching.